All right. So on that note, welcome to the, what is this? The 12th of May Robot Builders Night Out, hosted by the Dallas Personal Robotics Group, except that it's virtual, so since we're all in. And now we have Harold, welcome. We're just getting warmed up here, just started the recording. So tonight we have probably a relatively light thing, just a quick survey before we start the recording showed that few of us have some lightweight things to show, but maybe nothing huge. So we'll just see how it goes. And with that, why don't we go by order of the sunrise and through the Earth's rotation and the solar alignment. I think that would put Murray ahead of all of us time-wise. So perhaps, Murray, would you like to start us off and just what you've been doing?
Well, I've been, this has been a week of mostly honing things that I was already working on. And so I kind of ripped my KR01 apart and cleaned things up and shrunk stuff. And I have a small kind of interesting thing to show, which is that I had one of those VL53L1X time of flight sensors, the little tiny Pimoroni ones that have a 4-meter LIDAR, and I had it up on the top of the robot where right now there's an ultrasonic sensor, but I used to have it up there. But the problem was, being a laser, it was, and even though it's got a 25-degree spread, it tended to look over a lot of things that I was trying to find. So what I've done now is I've mounted it. I don't know if you can see that. I've mounted it underneath the robot. Oh, yeah. So I'll try to run it right now. Let's see if it'll work. Come on. Oh, I think I've accidentally, well, no. I'm not getting a response from my, oh, we'll have to try it later. Basically, that is a upside down servo, and I managed to find some space inside the bumper. So now it's actually looking through, where's that? It actually peeks through the very center of the bumper on the bottom there. And so it's only 43 millimeters off the ground now. So it's actually looking out at the same, it's actually below where my infrareds are. And I think that's going to be, I might even replace the infrareds because of course it can scan. And I've only got about a 48 on each side. So 100 degrees roughly of scan, but it looks through the whole cut in the bumper and gives me pretty much the same spread as my infrareds, but it's of course got a, it goes up to like 2 meters pretty accurately. So I might actually be able to keep my infrareds as sort of bumpers, but use this as a scanner. It actually can go back and forth in just a few, like about a second and a half, and give me fairly accurate measurements coming out where the bumpers are. And then I now have room up on top for the ultrasonic. And so I can use the ultrasonic for the original reason I had it for. And apart from that, just a bit of rewiring and a couple posts that I'm ready on my blog. And yeah, that's about it. And I'm cleaning up my robot operating system and actually started posting it, which forces people to look at it. Ha. No, it just means I have people looking potentially at my code, and it's that sort of code embarrassment. Now I have to clean things up. But yeah, that's about it from me. I've got plenty to keep me busy.
There you go. I don't know about code embarrassment. I figured that anybody that goes to the trouble of actually posting it and sharing it, that's a pretty high hurdle for most people to overcome, right? Because most people don't do that.
Well, I've been on I've been on a number of open source software teams for, God, I've been on the JSP wiki team for like, I think 20 years now. I wrote the handler for it, and so my code's out there with my name on it and in all the embarrassing forms. And I got long ago gotten used to people fixing my bugs and stuff, and so it's not a bad thing.
That's the bonus of it, isn't it? Right? That other people are fixing your stuff for you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Free development team.
Yeah, free. So that's pretty much it for me. I've next Wednesday, my next shipment of parts from overseas arrives, and I'll have those 2 little brass hubs that I didn't order last time, so I can begin work on the Mecanum wheel robot again. But it's probably good that I don't have those wheels because it just distracts me from getting actually work done on my bigger robot.
You know, what's life without these fun distractions, eh?
Well, there must be some sort of Murphy's Law thing that says that for certain people, at least, if you've got another thing you could be doing, you do that rather than the thing you should be doing.
Yes.
Murray, I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
For your time of flight sensor, you're scanning it with the Servo.
Yep.
And how many individual readings do you get per Servo scan, if that makes sense?
Well, I've got basically my robot operating system has a YAML configuration file, and I can goof around with how wide the scan is and what point at which the servo stops. And so I also how much performance I want. Like you can put how do I put it? The time of flight sensor has 4 possible performance settings. One's called performance, and it goes really fast. And then there's low, medium, and high, or something like that, or distance-wise. But I found that that's really slow. But on the performance setting, it seems to work just fine, and it's incredibly fast. So I can do a sweep from -48 to 48 in, I think, about 2 seconds with a 1 degree resolution, and it gives me readings at each degree resolution, and it's fast. So it works really well.
So you get about 100 degrees there in 2 seconds?
Yeah, roughly.
Does the servo need to stop while you take each reading, or do you do it continuously? You scan continuously?
Oh, no, what I'm doing is I actually, in my algorithm, I set the servo to a degree, do a call on the get distance, and then let it go to the next one. So it actually is theoretically stopping at each degree. Yes.
So that 2 seconds takes into account 100 stops?
Yep.
Okay.
And one of the things that I noted is that the time of flight sensor on its own in a slower mode can go up to 4 meters. I've seen it go to about 3.5 meters, but when it's in this mode, it only goes to about 1.5 meters, maybe 1.8 meters, but that's plenty for what I'm doing, so it's fine.
Is that because the speed of light is so slow?
Yeah, something like that in New Zealand.
Well, you know, it's south of the equator, so I understand that.
Yeah, our toilets flush the wrong way.
Maybe the photons spin backwards.
Yeah.
Well, I have tucked away in my cranium somewhere that light travels about 9 inches
a nanosecond.
Per nanosecond. Ray, is that in your brain as well?
Yes. Yep.
Cool.
Approximately.
So that means to measure something as short as 9 inches, you need to have at least a gigahertz processor or timer. And since we routinely now have, let's say, 3, maybe even 4 gigahertz processors, that ought to get you down to 2.5 inches or something like that. Do you know what the minimum return for those sensors are?
It's really short.
What's the closest they can see?
Well, I on a lark, I tried to turn the sensor 90 degrees and look past the wheels to see if I could use it as a wall follower, but it tends to see the wheels because it actually has some spread. It's not an actual laser. There's deliberate spread in the design. But I was getting measurements of like 55 millimeters and stuff like that. So I think it's fine. I don't know what the actual, I could look while we're here. I'll tell you what, I'll do that and tell you, but it's down to like 40 mil or something like that.
It's not many millimeters. I mean, David, you realize that one of the applications for those things is in my iPhone and many other phones. Why? Because it turns the volume down as it gets closer to your head.
They use a different one for that, though. That actually, Pimoroni uses a different sensor than the VL53L1X. They use in fact, they also sell that sensor, the one that's in cameras to put if your eyes up to it, and the one that's in phones, they sell as a different sensor, and that one's got a maximum distance of about 100 mil. So,
yeah,
but
and there's some that are meters. Like Doug has one that's 3 or 4 meters, or 40. I mean, actually, is 40 or 100 feet. There's a whole portfolio of options that get you all the way out there, from really close to far away.
It says 25 millimeter accuracy, 4 centimeters up to 400 centimeters. And
So
I have
4 centimeters. So that's about 4 gigahertz. That was our guess. That you need a timer.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
fast.
it has its own little onboard processor, I guess, doesn't it? Yep. It actually uses, if I wasn't on my Linux box, the actual sensor that it uses is about the size of a grain of rice. And I mean, the VL53L1X is actually the name of that sensor, not the name of the Pimoroni board. And if you search on VL53L1X, and it comes from ST Microelectronics, and that sensor is, if you just read the specs on it, pretty impressive. I mean, it's like, it is about the size of a grain of rice, and it does almost everything in the sensor. So
it comes from STM, the same people who make these Nucleo boards.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's really crazy, Murray, is if you go track down somewhere, Dave Ackley, that same vendor, Dave Ackley and I went and traced down the patents for that and the ST Micro theory of operations. So when you go and look at how it actually measures like that, it's pretty fascinating. You see, this is close to my heart because my first real job out of college at Texas Instruments was to make laser radar for tanks.
Oh, wow.
So we had in the group I was in, we had one radar that was made from it was solid state, so it used a YAG, whatever it is, a YAG crystal tube, and so we would charge a flash lamp up and then send a burst of light out, and my circuit would start the stopwatch when the light left the tank, and then it would be counting up time until the pulse came back, and we could go from 100 meters to 10 kilometers with a 30, and this was just a 30 megahertz crystal, which was pretty good for 74 LS chips in the mid 80s.
Wow,
that was close to their max speed, but it was 100 meters to 10 kilometers with like 10 meter accuracy. And then over the next few years, then we took my same base circuit, which has a story. It's funny also because they hired me in to do a test set for this ASIC. So I built the test set fresh out of college, and the ASIC came in. And at first, my test set wasn't running, of course, because I didn't understand ground planes. So I fixed that, wire wrapped a fake ground plane, and then tested the chip. And then pretty soon it became clear that that ASIC wouldn't run at speed. So we had a couple of choices. We could change the speed of light, probably not an option, or we could throw the ASIC away. So the funny part is, and this was my career at TI, we took this ASIC that was about a square inch, and I came up with a 7400 LS discrete logic implementation that was not that much bigger, that did the same requirements, except mine worked at speed. So that circuit became the basis for, I don't know, 5 or 6 different tanks and such. And the other system it worked on was pretty cool. It had a gas laser. So it had a CO2 cavity. It was about 1 foot long, a couple inches square inside, and inside it had the super high purity CO2 gas, which I guess resonates at a certain frequency, and had these really ridiculously flat and well-polished electrodes on the length of the cavity. So what you would do is you would charge up this capacitor to 20,000 volts, and you had a switch. Well, you know, normal switches don't work, so these switches are called spark gap. So spark gap, it's the same thing they use to detonate nuclear warheads. So it's basically got like pieces of metal like this, and then it has another little plate closer to one than the other. So the 2 pieces of metal can withstand 20,000 volts until you take this one in the middle and you move it another 3,000 or 4,000 volts beyond the other one. At that point, it forces an arc, and that thing goes from like megohms of impedance down. So, and then the cavity would go from megohms. All of a sudden, we'd switch 20,000 volts across this gas, and it would go from megohms of impedance to 10 ohms of impedance in about 100 nanoseconds. So you can, and this is the big loopy thing, right? So the cable length was literally like about a foot on the plus and negative anodes going to the cavity. So you can imagine if there's little bits of noise, because this is a spark gap, right? It's a spark. It's broadband white noise. You're throwing a switch all over the place. And then on the other side of this aluminum plate is this receiver that can detect microwatts of optical energy, which was microvolts of signal. So it was really wild. So it would send the pulse out, and you'd like uncover your eyes 100 meters later, and then you could see out to 10 kilometers. And I eventually started to play with the phases of the clock edge. So I got my basic circuit with 74 discrete 7400 series LS to give 2.5 meter accuracy of. So anyhow, and then I moved on and did FLIRs and other things. But yeah, so laser rangefinders have always been near and dear to my heart for that reason.
Well, and I think
it's fascinating to learn that there's one in my freaking phone. What the hell?
Plus, the speed of light just ain't what it used to be.
You know, no. I mean,
it's really getting slow.
This is gigahertz processors. It's absurd.
Think about those processors. If they want to talk to their own memory chips, and those memory chips are more than 4 inches away on the motherboard, you have to put in wave states because the speed of light is too slow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then there's the other thing of what's the other thing? Oh, when the chips started to get so big and the clock rate's so high, they could no longer model the circuits as a simple signal high and low. They had to. The wiring within a chip you have to model as a transmission line. So there's RF transmission lines inside the chip to make sure that the signal gets from one side of the chip to the other. Wow. Otherwise, if you have the impedance wrong, you've changed the signal here, but it just bounces off the other end. Wow. Like a wave and a pull.
This is a problem that I've seen with all real high frequency circuits, and that is trying to get the signals to stay inside of the wires.
You know, it's damn wires just ain't what they used to be either. You need waveguides. Then along come these funny qubit people. What in the world? What are we going to do? Just off to the beach we go.
Ray, what are you showing us?
Let's move over to Ray. So I've babbled too much.
Oh yeah, Ray's got something going.
Okay, this is I've been playing around with the HC12. They're a 433 megahertz transceiver, basically. So that is this little guy here. This is one of Palulu's A-Star microcontrollers, and I've hooked it up to one of the RoboClaw motor drivers, and they're fairly sophisticated. I mean, there's options with a little GUI to do PID tuning. So you can just say, okay, you hit an auto tune button for each motor, and it, makes the motor move a little bit back and forth, and gives you the PI and D values. You don't have to experiment with it, and you can. There's a little slider in the GUI. You can make, change the parameters. You can make it more aggressive, less aggressive. Anyway, I've got transmitter over here hooked to this monstrous joystick. That's that IBM joystick. I don't know if you can see that or not. And two motors. The motors were Tanner specials. They were $10 each, believe it or not. And they actually run on 22 volts. And I don't know if you can you see the little black tape moving around?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm just pushing the joystick around back and forth and just controlling it with a joystick. So that was one of the modes that I wanted to get working. for the robot mowers, because you always, you know, you don't want to have to pick the thing up and move it or push it. You know, you might as well use a joystick. So, so it's a wireless link basically to this receiver from this transmitter. And, you know, the RoboClaw is basically driving the motors, you know, based on where the joystick is. So.
Hey, Ray, I was just looking at the Pololu website. I'm just curious, which of the models, the 15 amp, 30 amp, how many amps do you need to run those big motors?
These motors don't take that much. They take at full speed about an amp each.
Oh. So the stall current's like about 5?
Oh, 5 stall current? Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I've kind of grabbed them and tried to stop them. They're actually meant to work at 22 volts, which is kind of an odd voltage. But I just have it hooked up to a 12 volt supply now, so I can just watch what the current is. So.
But they'll be enough to push them more, right?
Yeah, they're very high torque. They're geared down quite a bit. That's why we all like Tanners, because I mean, you know, these motors were $10 each, and you never find anything like that, you know, for such a low price.
No, in New Zealand they'd be the cost of a car.
Oh, seriously?
No, I'm joking, but it would be expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. Yeah. So, and that's what he was really good for, was, you know, those. And I bought 2, and then, you know, played around with them, thought, okay, I better buy some more of those things, and came back and they were gone. So in the process of clearing out his warehouse, he found 2 more, and I bought them like on the spot. It's like, okay, come on, let's do this. So, yeah. But anyway, if you're, you know, if the RoboClaws are a little pricey, but the things that they do for you, you know, you don't have to do pit tuning. It's got you know, an RS-232 interface to it. If you know, there's a thing called packet serial. You can give it a command like, I want you to accelerate so fast, move at a speed at a certain rate, deaccelerate, and even deaccelerate to a position. So you can do those, you know, complex movements like that with a, you know, a single command. So it's, I think Harold, once you start playing around with yours, you're gonna really appreciate all the things it does to you for you.
Oh, I have played around with a lot, and it's a fantastic little thing. Way more sophisticated than I am capable of understanding at the moment. But yeah, it does all kinds of fun things, and I've got mine now in mixing mode and kind of thing, because it's doing differential drives on the thing, and I say go forward, and it knows to go forward, and I got, you know, I'll use one of the servo interfaces for forward and backward in speed, and the other one for left and right, and it does the right thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have to worry about that. That's awesome.
Yep, it's taking care of for you.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even, like I said, even the, you know, PID tuning parameters, you can just put it in auto tune and it runs off and does it. And they are expensive though. So all the ones that I got, I always waited for the Pololu Black Friday sale, and he would take like, you know, $50 off them and stuff. So
yeah.
And I've got a bigger one for the wheelchair motors. It's I'll go get it. It'll dwarf this one, but
yeah, they go up to 120 amps.
You know, this is
man.
Yeah, some of the calls you're getting
one for wheelchair motors, so you can kind of see the difference there, how much bigger it is.
Is that the 60 amp one?
Yeah. So it's on a big metal plate, and you know, you can put individual small fans on each sink if you want, and so it's, you know, got a set of huge screw terminals on it for.
And you can even combine both sets of those to run one motor. So you can really put 20 amps into one motor if you have to.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's, I think they call it bridge, like a bridge mode.
Yeah, bridge mode. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and they have an Arduino library, it looks like, too.
Say that again?
They have an Arduino library available, I guess.
Yeah, they have Arduino, and they have Python. If you look at the RoboClaw website, they've got Python models as well, so you can, use like a Raspberry Pi to drive it if you want.
Okay, well, I don't know if I need one as big as that for my robot, but
yeah, well, you can drive smaller motors, and they make smaller ones. I think Harold's is good for like 8 amps per.
Yeah, I got a max of like 15 amps on mine, split between 2 motors. So.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking at the site. They've got a 7, a 15, a 30, 45, a 60, and a 2x60 and a 2x160. So they go from small to big.
Yeah. They've even got one that's 300 amps for a single. It just drives a single motor.
Yeah.
But those are more for the the robots that are the killer robots. With.
Yeah, that's $600.
Oh yeah.
Ray, I may have missed it. What were you using to power the motors? Do you have a battery or just a bench supply? How are you powering the motors on?
Yeah, it's just an old bench supply.
The bench supply.
Lambda. I don't know if you can see it up there or not, but it's just set at 12 volts and so old it has analog meters on the front for voltage and current.
Nice. Classic.
These analog meters aren't what they used to be.
Not what they used to be? Yeah, probably not. They probably don't read that accurately anymore.
Yeah, digital is just fake anyhow. It's all analog in the real world.
Yeah.
Digital
anyway.
Bloody digital.
Cool. All right, Ray. Good deal. Looking good.
Yep. Oops, got my head off again.
Let's see. We're moving kind of in order of joining, I guess. So, Josh, did you have anything you'd like to talk about or share today, or ask some questions or anything? Or
nope, I'm good.
Okay, just checking in. Cool. Well, welcome, and then welcome, David, to see you joined as well. David Steele. So, how about David A? Did you have anything to throw up on the screen today?
I did finish mounting my my little breakout board.
Nice.
For the STM. I actually didn't have enough parts, so I had to go pull apart some other pieces of equipment, and so that's ready for the mounting of a. I don't know if you can see any of this.
Yeah. Your mic, your Nucleo.
Yeah. In the meantime, mic is onto that. In the meantime, I got a ping from basically I soldered all those pins. That's what I've been doing. But I also got a note from David Ackley, and he said that he'd been following on the list where I was complaining about running out of UARTs on the STM32F411, which is what this is. And he asked if I had looked at the F446, which I had not. It seems to be a superset. It uses basically the same configuration of pins, so it would fit on this breakout board. But it has available 6 hardware USARTs.
Wow.
And just some other available alternate functions. So I wouldn't have to use my plan, which was to use a software emulated for the extra channel I have. So anyway, I ordered a couple of them today just to play with. In the meantime, I was digging around looking for the data sheets, and the data sheet I have for the 411, which is from ST Micros, the data sheet, includes a handy table that shows all of the alternate function modes for each pin. So that's really the thing you need to work out the pin assignments. So I looked up what are the alternate function modes for the F446. And I can nowhere on the internet find such a table. The closest thing I found is one of the user's manuals, but it doesn't have a table. It's just you can go through one function at a time. You know, timer 4 uses alternate function 2. And then, 20 pages later, timer 5 uses alternate function 4 or whatever. But I can't find all that information gathered in one place, which is an enormous pain in the ass, especially since it is available for the processor I'm using. So that, at least at this point, that's a showstopper for me. It's too hard to use the part. They don't have the documentation I need. But at any rate, while I was at it, I ordered a couple more of the F411s, and they're back ordered.
Oh, they are.
So, yeah, so PayPal has already charged me for things that I don't have and that nobody knows when I will have. Murray, I know you have no patience with this.
Yeah, join my life. Yeah.
So that's all I've done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I kind of rely on those little diagrams. I think that one's for the blue pill. It's not even in color, but it shows all the alternate pin functions on there, and it's just very handy.
Are you showing something right now? I'm not seeing you.
Oh, sorry. That's an alternate pin function diagram for the blue pill.
Hang on just a minute. I seem to have lost you.
We can hear you and see you, but and I see Ray.
Oh,
I hear Ray.
Okay, Ray.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do see it now. Yes.
Yeah. So that one's for that one. I was looking for one for the F401, but this is just it's a pin out of the board. It doesn't show any of the alternate functions, so not nearly as useful.
The documentation I did find, they said, well, here's your development environment. You're going to get a Kyle development environment, and it does all this stuff for you. And I'm going, no.
See.
What I want is there's got to be a document somewhere designed for people to use your microcontroller. Yeah. How do I program your microcontroller? What do the bits in the different registers do?
Yeah.
And I can't seem to find that document.
It's criminal.
As I said, at this point, as far as I'm concerned, that's a showstopper. Maybe by next week, I'm going to do a face plant and say, "Oh, of course I found it." But I've spent 2 days now looking for it, and I can't find it anywhere on the tube.
Yeah, I find those very handy. Here's another one for the OpenMV H7. That one's a pretty big blow up of it. Same sort of things. All the, what do all the pins do on the module?
Yeah. That's the table I have for the processor I'm using, for the microcontroller I'm using. Goes through each port and goes through every pin on that port and tells you every function and alternate function and what the codes are to generate those functions for every pin on every port.
Yeah.
So if you want to
it's a little weird, but using the STM Cube IDE, you can, if you just pick a function, it'll pop up on the diagram. So that's one way of maybe doing it. But there's
as a matter of fact, when I wrote back to Dave Ackley and I said, "How did you find this?" and he said, "Well, using the IDE for the STM32 Cube, I was able to compare." And he said, "I just started thinking there must be a more modern part out there that has more hardware." But that's how he found it. So he didn't even have the document I was looking for.
Oh,
he had a GUI. But I want something that's a document that I can read.
Yeah.
Call me old-fashioned.
David, it seems like you and I have a lot of the same bugbears, because the current job I'm in right now, I've been in for about a year, and my constant rant to the rest of the team is this software environment, is the enterprise software environment, has about 20 large projects that work together. Those 20 projects were we can Java doc the whole thing and look at it. But the problem is that it's been around for, I don't know, since 2014, and it's almost completely undocumented. And the only people who understand it are the guy that's graduated from a programmer to an architect and doesn't work on it anymore, one guy who's quit the organization, one guy who's too busy to do anything else, and there's one guy who's in charge of everything else. And it's all in their heads. There's no document. It's just normal.
I know exactly. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody, you know,
No.
I'm sure. I went back recently, within the last year, to a robot that I haven't worked on in a number of years. And I had to fire it up. And the first thing you have to do is you turn it on, and I wanted to download the latest version of the software that I had. And I've got all my notes, I got all my documentation. But there's a step I never bothered to document because it was so easy and trivial that it never occurred to me to write it down. How do you put this board in download mode?
Details.
Yeah.
And, you know, it turns out, well, you got to hold these two buttons down and hit reset. It was one of those sort of things. But it took me literally hours to track that down. I never wrote it down. It never crossed my mind to write it down.
I
I
was
probably just do it in your sleep at the time, right?
When I was still working in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto, I had the fortunate situation of being invited into Doug Engelbart's monthly meetings at Stanford Research Institute. And so he would hold forth in a group of about 5 or 6 people. And he was a grumpy old man because, of course, he didn't get any of the credit he deserved. And I mean, invented the mouse. But how do you go, how do you get bigger than that, right? And he had a long history in the military environment, and so everything was an acronym. And he had this thing called a DKR, which he talked about all the time, which was a dynamic knowledge repository. Now, you may know that Ward Cunningham took that idea and invented the wiki. And so learning from Doug, and I've had a lot of these sort of elder mentors in my career who I try to listen to. And so the thing I got from Doug was this DKR idea, because that was his main idea. And he even had a great story. He said that, tell me if I've told you this story already, but he said that this is before the age of the wiki, that they had one of the American fighter jets. I think it was like the F-14 or something like that. And during the design phase and everything, there was the normal documentation of, as you have on something like that, which is pretty voluminous. But then about a year after they'd started testing the jet, and I think it was the F-14, they were finding a lot of cracks in the tail assembly, that there was something wrong. And they went back, and of course, the contractors who'd worked on it had moved on to other things, and they couldn't find anybody who'd actually been on the original project. And there was one older engineer who hadn't moved on, and he said, "Oh, I remember, that was the argument I lost." But it was in his head. And so Doug's point was, as you develop things, you document. And so what I got from that is that I always have a wiki, a personal wiki or a public wiki, but I put everything, all my notes, into a wiki. And so, David, I highly recommend having a local wiki and just dumping everything into it. It was that same story that Bill Atkinson I mentioned, where Bill just dumped everything into a HyperCard stack, and it didn't have to be sorted. He just searched through it. But just dumping everything into a computer, let the computer do all the work, right? And so I just document the hell out of everything, even without organization. And eventually my thought is, well, I'll find it someday. And it actually works. I mean, I have to advocate for high levels of documentation with lots of noise. It doesn't even matter. But if you stick it into a computer somewhere, you can usually find it.
That's
anyway,
very wise. Very wise of you.
I've been ranting about this for the last year in my job, and it's gotten me nowhere.
No. You just have to enjoy the craft as best you can enjoy it, because
I've got a
these
Jira.
younger generations.
I don't know if you guys know what Jira is, issue tracking software.
I live in it.
It's a website that a lot of companies have, and every time a bug comes up, you create a Jira item for that bug, and it's where you document the fixing of the bug. And I've got this one Jira item that's assigned to me right now that I can't fix because I can't get answers from anybody on what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so, Yeah. Anyway.
Jira failed. Do this, but I won't tell you when it's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, the thing about Jira, you're supposed to put stuff in there like this documentation that you're saying going forward, right? And guess where no one ever looks ever in the history of ever when they want to find out something about something that might have happened on this thing? In the Jira, in the comments where you probably put all this stuff so you baked in the knowledge. They just, oh, that's there? I'm like, most of the people
Jira is a good search engine too.
Oh yeah. That's my wiki.
I believe that the document that you don't document because the code is the documentation. Now, I'm talking about now, like Carl and you guys there, a little bit different because there's other sorts of documentation with what do these pins do that never going to show up in code or any of that junk anywhere. And the idea is that if you write the code well and make it understandable, you can eliminate a bunch of documentation. And there is some truth to that, but it's just at some point you just don't even know where to start. And so
I go beyond that. It's not just the code that's self-documenting, but the robot itself is self-documenting, right? There's no reason to write down what this wire and this connector does. Obviously, it's right there. It's up this.
That's right there. It's what it's going to do.
I'm with you, Murray, on this one. This is, you need somewhere, you need to step back. This is the intent. This is the overview.
Take a moment,
and the code is just one implementation of many that could approach that intent, right? So you need that extra layer.
What Harold's talking about is a whole movement in programming called literate programming, where your method names are like sentences. Yeah. And you, in theory, could go through your code and just read it. The problem, as I think Harold pointed out, is that someone coming new, like me, into this code base has thousands of Java classes, and there's no overview at all. So even if
you don't know the names of things, you have no idea. Like we had this discussion today. I've got this variable that we're going to be passing around, and it's going to be case pack quantity. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great, but in my context, I know exactly what it is. But if somebody's walking back, okay, case pack quantity, is that the number of cases I have or the number of things in a case? You know, I mean, that right there, that binary thing, if you choose the wrong one, is going to send you down a rabbit hole that you're never going to get out of. You're going to go the wrong way. You know, words are hard.
Yeah. I won't bore you with the details, but we've got an object model with 60 Java classes in our object model, and it's an undocumented object model. So what it's supposed to do, who knows?
Yeah. And surely all of those classes are orthogonal, right?
Yeah.
Well, my job in the last year was to refactor that entire system. I made something like 1/3 of a million changes to that software without understanding it.
Yeah.
Hope you got some good ones, man.
Oh, it's been pushed. It's been merged into master. It all works. The changes I made did not actually change the logic. They just moved things around, cleaned it up. But oh God, I wish I understood it. It'd be great.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so I'm going to take a turn then. So I'm going to show something not exactly robot related. But I'm going to show something about little webcasting broadcast studios. So right now, you should see my little screen with the camera on it, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this is the context. Okay, understand that I have the laptop that I'm using, and then this screen. We're going to come back to that in a minute. That has software I'm going to show you. So I got the left screen, the laptop, the right screen. Okay. And then over here, I have the robot laptop with its external screen and the robot, all right? So just keep this kind of in mind, this kind of vision here. Now what I'll do is show you the other screen. So let me go to the other screen.
You're one of those guys who thinks the more screens you have, the smarter you are, right?
No. The more screens I have, the more fun I have chasing my tail. Okay. So this software that I'm showing is called Open Broadcast Studio. Harold knows what it is. And just shout out loud if you can't see it. But the idea is that it allows you to take video streams from any number of different places or other kinds of media. It could be an image, could be a web page, could be a movie file. But anyhow, what you can do is you can define these things on the left called scenes. And in any given scene, you can mix and match different things. So like right now, I can point to, like on here, I can point to my laptop camera unfiltered. And oh no, that doesn't work because it's conflicting with Hangouts. But I can show the right screen, right? So there's the right screen, and it's centered in this window. Or I can show the left screen, and it does the whole image thing. Or I can come down here and go to the network and look at the T530. So right now, it's showing what's on that display. And what I can do is go over to a similar window on there. I'll show you what it looks like with, where'd it go? Right screen. So
Carl, where is it getting the audio?
Where do I get the audio?
Yeah, where is it? Does the audio go with each stream?
It can.
I'll explain that in a minute. But let me finish this part and then show you. So I have the same free software over here. And you'll see that right now it's pointed to the external screen, so that's what it's presenting. If I come down here and do webcam, so now it's this screen plus that webcam. And if we go back over here to my left screen, if I go down here to T530, yeah, so you can see that by toggling that little switch down here on that other camera, I can toggle the feed. So I can just switch between feeds like that. So anyhow, what's really cool is that not only can you mix these different video sources together, but to your point, Dave, you can mix in audio from whatever source that you have. So you can just fold all these different things together. And then there's another bit here too. So let's see. So if I undo this button, let me get to that. This is an ad hoc presentation, so okay. Now the next thing is,
Carl, we're judging you. Just saying.
Say what?
We're judging you. You know.
I hope so. Yeah, that's how it is. So so this thing now, I have this being the right screen plus the camera portrait. Now you'll notice when I toggle between these on the scene, it has a different list of sources on the right. So this is the right screen only. This is the right screen plus several other things, okay? One of them is the NDI Pro camera. So the thing is, if I turn this on and it works, let's see, demo effect, is it gonna work? Survey says it's not gonna work tonight. There it is, it's gonna work. So now I have another piece of software running on my phone here, and that software is generating a feed over Wi-Fi that's coming into this mixer that's putting it together with whatever I have on my right display over here. So the point is that if you've got stuff to present, everything I've just shown you is for free, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty cool way that you can just mix this stuff together. You can say, well, sometimes I just want to show the screen by itself, or I want to show some other screen. I want to show that screen. Sometimes I want to bounce back and show the camera view. So it gives you the ability to just quickly set up your demo and then juggle between. And then on the sources, you can click like this button. You can select audios or browser or a color. This NDI is really cool too. I'll mention that in a minute. Windows, displays. So I think, do I have this?
Carl, the software is free. I'm looking at their website. It looks cool. But what do you need hardware-wise to do what you're doing?
Yeah, that's what's going to be my treasure. What type of gaming machine do you have?
Well, okay.
Some of those tiny lanes, you know.
It's not too terribly bad on that. I've got friends doing. I've got this pared down Ryzen something or another. I forget what it is, but I've gone through that. I've gone all of that machine. I'm using all that I can do on that. But if you got an i5 something or another running on there, you can do lots of stuff.
Oh, I did performance.
This machine is an i5 with 16 mega RAM, and that's it, and an SSD, and it does great.
That's not what my question was. It wasn't performance. It was what kind of video in and out and hookups and cabling. What do you need for that.
Oh, well, that's you see, that's the best part of it all. So I'm going to send some links. I'll paste them in the chat when the next person goes. But whenever you get down to like here, you see this NDI. Okay, so there's actually two packages of software that I'm commingling here. One is called this Open Broadcaster Studio.
Yeah.
And it's a shareware platform that lets you mix a bunch of stuff together. And there's tons of plugins. It seems to be really well done. So if you know GIMP, Audacity, Git, it's like on that level of quality for my way of telling you.
Do chroma key right in the box too. So if you want to do green screen stuff and all that kind of junk, it's defaulted there. So really,
I had that set up, Harold, in Google Meet was fighting for the device driver on my camera, so I can't show that tonight.
What you can do though, Carl, is go look for something called virtual camera.
Oh, it's in here.
It's in there? Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I'm talking to you now, because I'm using OBS to do all this stuff, and I broadcast.
You know, that's what I forgot to do. I forgot to turn it on.
Virtual
it's all about turning it on. There it is. Okay, so once I turn it on,
yeah.
Okay, but now I can't change. Thank you, Harold. I forgot about that step. Damn it. Okay, next time. So
Carl,
any of the stuff you can use.
I found OBS here, but you said you're commingling two pieces of software. What's the second?
Yeah, it is. This is the link. This is the link that I'm gonna send to you guys. The second thing is called New Tech, and actually it's a company, and they do, as far as I can tell, they do broadcast quality stuff, and I mean commercial.
Blue Tech with a B.
No.
I'm trying to share it. Just a second. Let me figure out what I'm doing wrong here.
NEWTEK.
Yeah.
NEWTEK.
Yep.
Yeah. This is the link that will get you started, and then I have another link for tutorial, and here I'm pasting it. Okay, so am I not sharing the screen?
I see it.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so this thing, what they have is this one blog shows you how to get started, okay? But it's showing how you mix together apps for the iPhone, something they call NDI Tools, and OBS Studio. So the short of it is that this OBS Studio lets you take all the sources and mix them together and switch between them and do some cool stuff. But what this New Tech does on top of that, and it plugs into the OBS Studio, is that they have this network device interface protocol. And basically it's a protocol, best I can tell from stuff I found. It's a protocol for sending video that makes it really easy to reroute the video from one place to another and to keep it all in sync. And so the reason I highlight this is that these two apps for iPhone right now, they're free through the rest of this month. They're normally $20 each. And one lets you share your camera on your iPhone, and the other lets you share the contents of your screen. But the thing is that when you have those apps and you've got this bridge, this tool set up, then you can go in here and you can select any old source that happens to be on your system. So right now there's probably a handful, because I've been putzing around with my network. So I can select any of these sources now, and it'll just bring it in courtesy of that protocol, the NDI protocol.
Hey, Carl, here's something else for you to think about, because what you're setting up scenes, you're going over a scene, and that you can grab lots of different things and put them on your scene and resize them and do all kinds of stuff. And there's way fun things you can do with masks I have not played with enough. If you look at what's on at my screen right now, I'm doing the lower third there with my name on it and stuff. And I can do a whole bunch of things just like that. And one of the things that, because I'm kind of a programmer, and we're all programmers here at some things, one of the scenes that you can go grab to show is another scene. So
yes, exactly.
Like you can go grab another scene, make a completely new scene, put that scene in it, and then drop stuff on top of it. So as you get stuff that you like and position correctly, and you can just build on top of that and compose things. It's really pretty cool.
to show you how easy that is, like here on this right screen, what we'll do is we'll take, let's add another source. So right now we're viewing the right screen. Well, let's just take the right screen only, right? So let's add another source. You just go plus. We'll take an NDI source because who cares where it comes from. We'll take an existing one, which is my external screen. We'll add it, and voila, there's my other laptop, and I've just mixed it together. And let's say, no, I want to put the scope behind, so you just drop it down in the order. So you can composite real-time mimixing. So is that cool or what?
Any support for non-Apple phones?
Yeah, well, that's another cool thing about that NDI protocol is that you can find it looks like it's a proprietary protocol, but it looks like there's tons of people who like Android. There's tons of companies that have gone on board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tons and tons of companies. So I'm pretty sure you can find Android and all kinds of stuff.
Yep. Don't have an iPhone.
I mean, you can find Android. You can find and OBS has Linux clients and Mac clients.
Yep.
So there's. And right now there's one of the things that they talk about is using the NDI on Wi-Fi as a replacement for your webcam because it's a much better quality on your phone usually. But what I'm finding is that when you do it by Wi-Fi, there's too much lag. So I've started looking down. There's other NDI alternatives that get you into that world, but using a cable so that gets rid of the latency.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last thing I'm going to paste in there is a tutorial. So this is it takes about an hour, but it kind of walks you through the basics of how to use that Open Broadcaster software. And then the new tech stuff, you just have to go look for new tech tools because it has a bunch of stuff that's beyond OBS, and it's just, I mean, it's free access to broadcast quality stuff as best I can tell. Pretty good.
It's pretty good stuff. There's no doubt about that.
So that's what I was doing instead of robots over the weekend. So yeah, I know. Well, and instead of search engine optimization, so I think Murray, you were talking about just being distracted and not, yeah. So
well, I just went over to my work computer and looked, and the questions I'd asked about this intractable problem, the two guys that know were just having an argument back and forth, and it turns out it's unknowable. It wasn't just me that was confused. No one knows.
It's the Heisenberg problem. All right.
Yeah. As soon as you look at the cat, it meows.
Yeah.
I see Doug's head.
Well, let's move on then. So I got to be done talking. So Harold, did you were having anything you want to show?
I don't have anything really. What I've been doing the last week is getting the Latte Panda up. I'm about to try to blink an LED on the thing. I forgot how much these single board computers are not as powerful as my desktop because Windows is running on the thing, and I've had to download. I'm just following the tutorials, which I've had to put Visual Studio Community on it and a few other things. And when I get done with it, I'm going to do remote debugging to it. So that's neither here nor there, so to speak. But and I've been just kind of working through that mess. And the other thing was I did not talk to you guys last week. But I did go to the last day at Tanner's, and it was a little sad. They were all taking pictures. I walked away with, I don't know, 300 or 400 tie wraps because he was giving everybody who bought anything stuff. And I did get a couple of things on there, but that was kind of sad though. But it was all right. They're going to go on and do something else. So, you know,
you didn't buy all his electric motors. I was hoping somebody would buy all his motors.
No, I didn't.
I had suggested this on the mailing list that someone should go buy all his motors.
I was a bit shocked because when I walked in there, it's been a little while since I've been in there, and like that whole wall of resistors and capacitors, that's just completely bare, you know. And there's a bunch of other stuff gone and moved around. Heck, I couldn't even find to see if what I needed was still there because enough stuff was moved around. I wasn't used to looking for it in the right place. So
yeah,
yeah, that was really cool. And they were taking pictures of the last day of people as they were checking out and doing things there as well. So, that was,
well, as I understand it, Jim is retiring, and Jimmy was not interested in
Yeah, of going on with
doing
it.
it anymore. Yeah. He's gone off to work in network security, I think.
I got you.
So I'll be leaving home in the evening, right? So
I was trying to think of the name of the company that I worked for in 1980, which was Zach Electronics in Sacramento. And for some reason, it came back into my head, and I looked, and they still in other places. They've been around since 1931, and they still have stores, but the one in Sacramento closed a long time ago. I remember doing inventory in Zach Electronics in 1980, counting every electric part.
That'll be 3 transistors and 2 transistors. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing that as
10,000 microfarad capacitors, or 10,000 microfarad capacitor.
I've been doing that, as Carl well knows, and Doug got excited about. James posted some freeware that he uses to organize all his home spare parts, and that's just, the man is much more organized than I could ever hope to be. And I was humbled and awestruck. But Doug sounded like he was interested in doing it. And so Doug, I think, is the same age as me, so we can expect to have the same sort of lifespan. And I just have decided that I'm not going to live long enough to do that.
Yeah, none of us might.
More important things.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
we have a metal building that's 40 feet by 60 feet, and it's 14-foot high sidewalls. So part of it has a second story, and my wife's mom and dad died several years ago now, and so we both had to go through their stuff because they weren't married together anymore. So it's like all of this stuff just got kind of thrown in that metal building, and we're just starting to go through it now. And it's this, oh my God, why did I ever keep this crap kind of thing? So
all right, I saw the same thing happen when I was in high school. It probably warped me for life, which was a couple of friends of mine decided that they were going to build a shop in their backyard. There was an old gazebo back there, an old 8-sided gazebo, and it had a concrete foundation. So they tore the gazebo down, and they started working on building as a nice space for a shop. And it took them about a year to complete it, just working on it on weekends and so forth. But what happened was, in the course of building on it, there would be some object they needed to do something with. What about this bicycle, this Christmas tree stand, Well, we'll put it back there in the shop, and we'll decide what to do with it later. And as a consequence, by the time they finished it, it was full. And they put a padlock on it, and they never went in it again.
Yeah, my goldfish bowl is pretty full at this point. I've got
That's funny.
a 1965 Chevy C10 pickup in there that at one point I was going to stick a diesel motor in, a Cummins 4-cylinder diesel, and then Pam's dad died, and I got a 1990 and a 2005 two trucks. So I thought, okay, well, I already have another 65 that I redid, and really didn't want to go through that again, just because it's trucks that old, they are like with rust, and you have to buy like every patch panel you can to cut out the rust, and for floorboards and rocker panels and all this stuff, and just didn't want to do that again. And so I've decided I'm gonna get rid of that 65 and put the engine transmission combination in the 1990 because it's in much better shape. There's no rust on it, but it's been sitting there for years now, so it's one of those things. I don't know if I'll ever finish it.
Well, that just sounds astounding to me. Did I mention I soldered a whole bunch of solder?
Now your memory's going, Dave. All right. Hey, so John.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
John, your turn. We're running down the clock here, so
okay.
Hopefully
you can hear me now.
Yep.
Okay, good. So I haven't done much other than I dig out and clean some. So I'm pondering the put of the handle on the, this robot.
Yeah.
So I'm debating about, do I put one simple, straight up like this, or have basically a 2-axis handle type thing.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking I'm putting that in the body, and then probably for, this movement, the smaller version is my current thought. So we'll see. Hopefully in a week or two I'll get to it.
Are you going to put an arm on the thing?
Yeah, because right now, it does the dance down here. But, there's no arms on the side here. So basically what I would do is bump this up and then put, put this motor probably like there.
Yep.
Hey, John, you could make it, add more servos, make it like a jack-in-the-box where it pops up and down.
Yeah.
Where the head would go up and down too?
Why not?
That's a thought.
Yeah.
Would be the most entertaining is if you could get it to walk a few steps forward, stop, and scratch its own butt.
Well, move forward, fall on his face, and then push itself up.
Back up, yeah.
I've seen variation of that with the two real balancing robots where they do that. So that's
John,
sort of my thought.
I have a question.
Yes.
You were doing at least a few years ago some fairly amazing ceramics and things that required getting to the equipment up at Makerspace, which I guess, can you do any of that from home, or do you have to actually have access?
The only thing I don't tend to have is the plasma cutter. In other words, I have a Blastsmith, I have the CNC little one, not the 9x8 or whatever size that bed was, but I do have a smaller one. I don't have a laser cutter. That's the one other tool, but Doug has one. In theory, we could get one for like $400 to $1,000. I do have a 5-watt laser that I haven't put on the one of those CNC yet. So that, eventually I may do that, but.
Do you have a kiln at home?
Yes, I have 2.
You have a kiln? You have 2 kilns.
I have the real 8-inch and then the one for my glass. So that's like 10 by 14. So yeah, cool. That's why I said to a high degree, I have lots of tools. I just don't now have time for it because unfortunately I'm now doing work from home problem. So reality is, I see you have the same problem as.
But you're not really that handicapped by not having access to the Makerspace.
Not overly. I mean, yeah.
We could fix that. Does the fire marshal know about your place yet?
Their small was. No, I have not done raccoon yet in the backyard. If I did that I might worry about, because with raccoon, basically what you're doing is have a pottery, and so what you do is basically build a fire around the thing, and there's lots of smoke, and then you smother it. Basically, so yeah.
So that might call attention to itself.
Yeah.
Lots of black smoke.
Yeah, you get a lot of smoke coming out of that type of technique. So no, I haven't done that. And I tried to be nice with the neighbors, so I don't hammer in the middle of the night, on Blastsmith. I would prefer to do the Blastsmith somewhere else, more industrial. But so
very interesting.
Do that much.
Good to have forgiving neighbors.
Yeah. For the most part, they are nice. So yeah.
Well, cool. Well, you'll get there. Just get past the work.
Yeah. Well, as I said, eventually I'll get to the stage where I want to retire. I'm getting more and more to that degree of thought, but hey, income is nice. So,
it is. Yep.
And I don't think if I retire, I would make as much income by definition. So it's a trade-off, in other words.
I like money.
Well, there is a certain degree of cash. It's nice to have. In other words, it's nice not having to count the pennies every day.
Buy more parts.
In other words, I don't tend to look at my balance every day. So hence, that's the nice feature. If I really decide I really want to get something, I've been conservative in my spending over the years. So hence, yeah, I don't live paycheck to paycheck in a nutshell. Which is
Doug, I think, is the only one among us who is a professional retired person. Is that true?
I'm pretty retired.
And has that been 5 years from that? 10 years? How long has that been?
About 10 years.
About 10 years.
Yeah. I retired when I was 58.
wow.
I mean, they had a golden handshake, and I sat there and I thought, you know what? I have enough money. I don't have to worry. I'll probably never spend it. The kids don't need it. My kids married well, did well. So I'm saying, hey, I'll just quit. And I was young. At 58, I was still young. And so I was able to hike the Appalachian Trail. I was able to do other things. Best decision I ever made.
Is that right?
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know the background here, at one time, DPRG had some young members in it. I know that's hard to believe now. And one of them was a young kid named Ed Parody, who was brilliant and funny and a whole lot of fun to be around. And he had a friend, can't remember his friend's name. They came to all of the club meetings that were held out in Garland at the time. And I'm not sure we ever learned his friend's name, because I remember one night the president said good night to us all, and he looked at the two of them and he said, "Good night, Ed," and not Ed. So then Ed got a good job off on the West Coast and disappeared off to do great things. And about that same time, this other person named Parody showed up, and it turned out that they were kin, that was his father. And I guess, Doug, is that true? We had never seen you before.
Well, yeah, when Ed was in the club, I didn't want to really step on it. I didn't want to, get involved in his, mess up his social circles and stuff. So I kind of stayed. I kind of stayed away from the club until after he was pretty much ready to leave. I think if you technically, my first meeting I went was over in the Garland Library, and I was watching a Roborama, and at the time it was pretty small. It was just club members, and they were. I remember seeing Ron. They had 4 squares, and they had a figure 8 course. So, just 4 squares, but instead of a square, they did a figure 8. And which actually is easier to do than a square, because if you've got a turn to the left, there's an equal number of left turns and right turns, so they cancel out. So you're more likely to be in the right spot when you get finished. But anyway, I saw that and I said, man, this is pretty cool. And I can't remember I don't think they were doing the David, I don't think I saw your robot at that meeting. But I was kind of cool, so that's when I decided to get it. But I think, it's been about 10 years, I guess.
So you couldn't come in until Ed left. It's like the conservation of angular momentum, the conservation of parodies.
Yeah,
when one comes in, another one has to leave.
2 of us can't occupy the same space.
Two parodies.
You'll annihilate, yeah.
Or is there really just one and they flip, right?
Yeah.
Costume.
We don't. Good point. We've never seen them together.
See?
Yeah.
Ed was still there at that time, but I wasn't a member. But that was the meeting that I decided to join.
And what's Ed doing now?
He's working for a startup in Seattle, and he's actually, I think, their COE, operating, not a chief engineer, whatever their chief engineer is. I can't remember it. But it's a small company. It's probably about 30, 40 people. So, but
that's just right.
Yeah. So he's always been pursuing the startup. He was in, he was in a couple of real boom type places, where it was great for 6 months, and they ran out of money. But and he got into another one where he was the only one who was willing to make a commitment. It was a part-time job for everybody else. And because of that, it was doomed from the beginning. You, as a parent, you're sitting back and you're saying, "Ooh, no!" But it really, you gotta let it go.
Well, I've ridden one startup up, and I've ridden one of them down, and with that, just 2 data points, I can tell you that up is much more fun
Oh, absolutely.
than down.
Yeah.
Much more fun than down.
I can certainly +1 that.
Yeah.
.com, boom, bomb, both sides of that equation for me on that deal, right?
Okay, I got a couple of things I wanted to share.
Yeah, I think so. Doug, we got you, and then after you, David Steele. If you have anything you'd like to share,
David,
David,
you were here before I was. You want to go, David?
I'm already gone. If you're talking to me.
No, there's another David, but
yeah, he's got his mic off.
If you're there, David, think about it. But otherwise, Doug, I think you got the floor. So just keep going on.
Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to present now. I think.
David says his mic is not working.
Okay.
So, no, I did it one time, David, when my mic didn't work, by holding up signs. You can write down on a piece of paper and hold it up. And
Okay.
Kept holding one up that said WTF, right? Yeah.
All right, now let me see. Okay. All right, so little progress on the K120 robot, and now got it mounted up where I can see downwards and whatnot. And with this position, I can see about 10 inches in front of me. So that's a good place. I'm going to start there and try to I've been using the USB port right now, but the next step is to go ahead and do some programming in Python. I have been studying the Python code, and I was actually very surprised. MicroPython is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It's really got at least in their image class, they can pretty much do everything that you would commonly do in OpenCV.
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised. So I'm still having a little bit of funkiness with it. I mean, I don't understand why Python is so popular, because I'll be quite honest, I think it sucks. I mean, it's the fact that there's every time I turn around, there's an indenture error, so I guess it's just for me, it's like they traded a problem where you make mistakes that you visually see for a problem that you can't see, so you don't know where it is, and it's hard to find. But
Doug, you just need the right kind of IDE.
Well, I'm using the IDE for this. It's actually pretty good on it, but when I try to edit scripts, you're right, Carl. In the right IDE, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see if I could use PyCharm, because when last time I was screwing around with Python, I used PyCharm, and I was real taken by it. It was really nice. Oh, and Carl, you showed a Husky Lens demo. I thought I had shown this. Maybe I didn't. Let's see page down.
Oh, you showed your demo, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when this guy was doing his thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not very hard to do. Okay, that's literally push a couple of buttons. The problem that you have after doing this, like when you try to go white and black and black and white, there's no real good way, because it's not in its tricks for you to do it. Supposedly you can train both, and you can actually train both, but it doesn't seem to work very well. So there was that, and there was something else I wanted to tell you guys about. Oh, from a hobby point of view, this has been a big week. You know, the internet is a horrible thing, guys. It's
as far as a distraction or what?
Yeah, it's let me see if I can get. Well, not just that. You know, since we're all at home doing nothing, you know, you're on the internet and you're looking at all these cool things you could be doing. Okay. And I ran into a metal finishing, a guy who had a bunch of metal finishing. So I'm experimenting with parkerizing and also with a powder coat. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. So, you know, anyway, that's what hobby-wise I'm doing this week. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, did your screen just freeze?
Mine went completely black.
Oh, it did, yeah.
I can hear, but I can't see anything.
Oh, okay, yeah, me too.
Well, I see all you guys.
Huh.
I can see everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, but are we moving?
Yeah, you're moving.
And you're
Okay, yeah, not on my screen.
The internet
soccer mode.
Go change your view and see if that unfreezes you, or just.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm stuck on the black.
Yep, me too.
I might have to come out and come back in.
Yeah.
I'm looking fine. I can see all of you. You guys are actually not seeing things?
I see a totally black screen.
Yeah.
Huh. That's bizarre because I can see all of you in the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carl, Ray, you're up there.
Yeah.
I got twice.
What?
I have two. One of them is moving and one of them is frozen.
Really? Hmm.
A live Doug, frozen Doug.
I must have bombed it when I stopped sharing.
Huh.
I don't know. Maybe it was when I was typing into the chat.
Yeah, try changing your view and see if that helps.
Changing my view how?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't get the three. You can't get the three dots.
Nope.
No, I don't even have the browser window.
I mean, your camera's coming across just great.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get out of this.
But Carl, don't you have so many video feeds you could be sending your video somewhere else?
I thought that's probably what's happening. It's just recursing all over the place. I'm lost.
Too much technology.
It's too complicated. I broke the KISS rule.
It's what you have. Video buildup. You're suffering from video buildup.
Better brush your head.
Yeah.
I can show my little demo now. I got it working. So, David, if you wanted to see this thing running,
go right ahead. Those of us that can see will enjoy it.
Here goes. Oh no, when I pick up the robot, I lose my SSH connection. That's what happened. So much for demos.
Demo effect. It's hit us all.
Yeah, I lost my SSH connection every time I pick it up for some reason. Yeah, that's what happened.
You don't even get to say it worked at home because, you are at home.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually our excuse. Well, it worked at home.
Worked at my place.
Well, I decided to create a YouTube channel for my robots, and I've only got these little 15-second videos, but there is actually a video of this up on that channel. But I don't think anybody wants to look at 15-second videos, though.
Sure, where are they?
I just showed a 26-second one, so.
I'll post something to the list then, about the URL. I can find it.
Guess if I ask to join, nope. So, hey, I was trying to paste something into the chat, basically, about that open broadcaster software that's apparently crashed the whole thing. or maybe not. And it turns out that actually, that software actually records as well. So you can use it to, oh no, I'm screwed. Okay, I can see everybody, but you can use that software to record your desktop. Yeah. Woo. Echo. Grand Canyon. Unmute. One of you. Oh no. So okay. I need to get out of this, guys, but
Yeah,
I think
that's what I did, Carl. One thing while I'm thinking about it before you hang up, though, is update the for next week. You'll need to, because when I went to our website, it had the meeting for Saturday, but not tonight. I think.
Yes, it did, John.
Well, okay. I went scroll down, and click on the. Because I remember Carl had said that it was the same link basically every time.
Yeah, if you look, what happened? What you got is the meeting for the 9th got posted after the meeting for the 12th.
Oh, well, I didn't look that close. I just went for the link at the top of the list.
Yeah.
So,
Carl, since you had a trouble, did you stop recording? Now I can't hear you. You're muted.
Okay, I'm going to stop recording. This is the official end of the echo chamber.